With the 7th annual Kombinatas festival fast approaching, we are looking back at some of the most memorable sessions from last year's main stage. This time, it's a panel discussion moderated by Gražina Bielousova. Panel participants were Laurynas Šedvydis, Ieva Budraitė, and Liutauras Gudžinskas. The panel was called Political Visions of Sustainability. Enjoy.
Once again, good afternoon. We're going to start a discussion. And it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to sort of the after party after the talk that Professor Staniškis gave us. We are going to focus on left politics and sustainability in Lithuania. In other words, the question of, so what does this mean? What can we do? How does that apply? My name is Gražina Bielousova, and I'm an assistant professor of sociology at Vilnius University. And to my right is a member of the Lithuanian Parliament and the chair of the Human Rights Committee in the Lithuanian Parliament, Laurynas Šedvydis. Yay! All right, to my left is Ieva Budraitė, who is the chairwoman of the Lithuanian Green Party. Yay! And to my further left is Liutauras Gudžinskas, Associate Professor at Vilnius University Institute of International Relations and Political Science. Yay! All right, we are going to dive right in. And my question to all participants, starting with Laurynas, is could you tell us more about what is it that you do and how your work intersects with left politics and with sustainability?
Okay, so as chairman of a committee which deals mostly with human rights issues, but in Lithuania the committee work has certain peculiarities. From the sustainable development goals, mostly social goals apply there. So that would be domestic violence, that would be women's rights, that would be migration issues, generally within these frameworks. But also as a member of parliament elected in a single member constituency, you get various dilemmas. For example, when one sustainable development goal directly contradicts the other. For example, CO2 emissions versus circular economy. When for example, because nowadays the factories which recycle the various like plastic, etc., are getting more and more efficient. And it turns out that increasingly they're just pushing waste which cannot be recycled using a lot of electricity, and there is resistance especially from people who put for example CO2 emissions first, who say that no, we definitely need to circle around this waste which cannot be recycled in order to get an economical amount of recovered materials. So you get these dilemmas in most lines of work, but mostly, I deal with those sustainable development goals which directly affects human rights, women's rights, etc.
Thank you. Ieva, on to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ieva. I represent Lithuanian Green Party, and sustainability is the core theme of my life, I would say so, because I participate in this organization for more than 10 years already. For the similar time of period, I also work in NGO sector with environmental awareness raising projects, also other project activities. I'm talking about social justice, environmental justice, and I believe that left political thinking, political philosophy is the same thing or the solution of the problems we are talking about. Because when you speak about sustainable development or about how to fight with climate crisis, we must speak about solutions which are priorities for left-wing politicians and political thought. So I believe we will discuss more about those recipes, yeah? So I will save it for next microphone.
Okay, hello everyone, bon appetit. I am, as Gražina said, I'm a lecturer at Vilnius University, so I'm not currently directly involved in politics. Although what I teach at Vilnius University, one of my courses is Phenomena of Successful Societies, which directly deals with problems of sustainable development. But I also have been for 8 years quite active in politics. I joined Social Democratic Party. For several years I also was deputy leader of Social Democratic Party, and mainly I was involved in writing programs. I was chief programmer of Social Democratic Party at that time. My first program was program for Liutauras Gudžinskas when he ran candidate for leadership of Social Democrats in 2017, and then we started working together. And I didn't calculate numbers of pages of program I wrote, but it was 2 parliamentary programs, presidential elections, European elections, local elections, and also 2 general programs. That basically, I would say 300, 400 pages of literature, and yeah, my intention was somehow to shift from focus on economic growth more to focus on sustainable development. Yeah, the current government program is mostly based on Social Democratic program for 2024. So I see a little contribution of myself into current government program. Although I need to stress that, nevertheless, somehow the first priority of this program is economic growth. So, but in general, yeah, maybe certain policies, actions that are being implemented over these 4 years, they have certain leaning to sustainable development. But we will talk about that maybe later.
Speaking of, we've kind of alluded to it. We've deferred it until a further moment, but this is the further moment. During the lecture by Professor Staniškis, we heard about sustainable development goals, conversations about various economic models and their relationship to ecology and to very fragile world in which we live, and that continues to be increasingly more fragile. And so the question is, right, so we're talking global scale. We're talking the level of United Nations. We are talking about multiple ecosystems, but we are here in Lithuania. What are some of the things that are happening that relate to more sustainable development, I think, is the term that Professor Staniškis used. So let's sort of, for consistency's sake, stay with the term sustainable development. So in very practical terms, let's maybe first of all talk about what is happening. And then in the second part, let's shift as to what are the greatest risks because of the things that are not happening, right? So the first thing is, what is happening? Laurynas, would you want to start us off?
Loads of things are happening, to be honest. The problem is maybe that These goals are very wide, and they're distributed and implemented via systems full of people who have their own careers and they have their own reports to write. Historically, it turns out that state bureaucracy and various state organizations deal with at least some of these sustainable development goals as something to, rhetorically use in any, without necessarily reaching for the goal, intended goal for these programs. Also, I want to stress that in at least some cases there are huge dilemmas in how, for example, ecology and, for example, endangered species on one side. On the other side, you have interests of, for example, owners of forests. And it used to be for quite a while, I believe, 10 or 15 years, the general policy was to use sort of all-encompassing regulation, ecological regulation on how to regulate individual, for example, owners of forests. And it creates huge tension in Lithuania because we have 100 to 200,000 individual owners of these sort of plots of land and plots of forests. These are different people. They have different priorities. Some of them want to use them for purely economic basis. On the other hand, forests are a renewable resource in one way or the other. On the other hand, you have huge pressures from people interested in ecology, in preserving species. And these dilemmas, this is just one dilemma where you have this constant conflict where both sides of that conflict use the same rhetorical devices from sustainable development goals, and this is in some way a criticism of these goals because they are very wide and they are very holistic, and you can be very holistic to such an extent where any type of attempt to achieve something disappears. Literally, just very recently, I believe half a year ago in Lithuanian Parliament, there were huge fights. I believe for the last 2 or 3 years, even in previous terms of Parliament, there are these huge fights for trying to, in one way or the other, deal with issues of forests. Now, for the context, because there are quite a lot of people not from Lithuania, you have to understand that contrary to many other countries in Europe and the world, during the last 100 years, the number of forests increased in Lithuania threefold. In 1918, Lithuania was 12%. Most of these are literally grown as commercial forests, and like old growth forests literally barely exist in Lithuania. And we're dealing with ecosystems literally created by people, by government, by institutions for commercial gain. So when you have this context, it basically colors the methods that you have. First of all, the methods that you use to sort of regulate these interests, because one of the worst things that could happen to anyone claiming to stand for ecological rights is saying no, these people who were actually given forests as compensation for the land they were confiscated during the Soviet era, you cannot do anything with that because there is like a bird's nest and whatever. whatever. This balancing act is incredibly fraught with real conflicts. And whenever state tries to move in one way or the other, you will have one interest group, ecological lobby. Let's say ecological lobby. Lobby is a good word here. And on the other hand, this is people who see forests as an ecological resource. And if you take one side or the other, you create fights. And 100 to 200,000 people is a lot of people with voting power, etc.
Right. So this comes from the pragmatic realpolitik on the ground, trying to legislate various interests that are conflicting over the resource, right? And I'm certain that Ieva has things to say. I was actually expecting the conversation to very quickly zoom in on forests and especially the old woods.
Laurynas speaks as a very practical politician who works with those interest groups every day. But I believe as ordinary citizens, we expect that politicians we elect would demonstrate political will and will say that we need forests not for commercial reasons, but for biodiversity reasons, for ecological reasons, for reasons to fight climate change and so on. So as long as we understand that there are different groups with different needs and so on, we have to say what is our priority, to stand with that priority very strongly, and only then try to somehow help all interest groups to adapt to that priority. I do agree that it's not easy. It's We see very strong fights about that, and not the beautiful one, the very dirty one, and so on. But what we need is very strong political will, and we do not see it in any area from my point of view. And what Professor told us, that we need systemic transformation for the changes to see. So we do not have that even will to start this process. I do not see it. Mm-hmm. We speak a lot about sustainability. We try to educate each other what it is, but we already know all recipes we need for that in transport sector, in energy sector, in social sector, and so on. But we procrastinate all those recipes to be implemented because inside our nature, human nature maybe, we are not ready to change, I believe so, and that's why we do not take steps needed. So how to change this? Somebody asked about revolution and other actions. I would say that if majority of people would be like-minded and would have the same values and the same strategical view, we would implement that revolution of minds, not necessarily with guns and so on, but we need that tipping point to achieve that changes are needed and to awake our will to change. Because now if we will try to search compromise every day in every area, we will see incremental changes maybe in very long term, but we need those changes now, today, or even yesterday, but not in so long period.
Liutauras, so when it is, because you were so involved with writing the party programs, I'm going to kind of steer the question a little bit. So what we hear is the question of strategic priorities, right? That we can agree on some kind of political will, on societal consensus versus very real pragmatic interests that we are trying to solve on the ground when laws come to effect, when laws are drafted, and so on and so forth. What does the process look like when party programs are being drafted? How is the tension between the two navigated, or is it navigated when the programs are written?
Okay, I will answer to this, but I will also would like to elaborate what has been already being discussed. I think party programs, it's a very interesting genre, and they are created in different ways. I can say that, for example, when we started to create a program, first of all, we wrote a document, Vision 2024, which was adopted in 2018. And the basis of this Vision 2024 was formed by gathering many researchers, experts from various fields, and to ask what they do propose to make situation better in their own respective fields. We were not asking to make utopia. We asked ambitious but realistic goals. And then, of course, this is a very interesting and creative work, how you can, because there are, it ranges from culture to environment, from social affairs to healthcare, foreign affairs, defense, etc. And then you think how to make a better, how to make a structure which would emphasize certain priorities and so on, and also you try somehow to build a house like this. And then, so there's like a general document, and then we were applying these general ideas to different elections, like presidential, local, parliamentary, and then, for example, when you're writing a parliamentary program, of course, you gather many other opinions. You provide a draft, then you provide other opinions, usually within the party, actually, because there are many specialists within the party. It's also interesting that at the end, like when there is already election campaign, interest groups appear and they show up. Interestingly, tobacco companies, at least in 2020, were the most active. Others maybe less, but it was 2020. Before 2024, I got invitations to meet with many more interest groups, because Social Democrats were much more popular, and everyone thought that maybe Social Democrats will be likely winners. So you take into account and then say, okay, maybe we will consider your opinions right, but also keep in mind that it's an electoral program. But then when elections are won, then there will be a government program, and then there will be an implementation act of the government program. And then your ideas, maybe more concrete, could be developed. So I am not in this process anymore, so I cannot comment on this, but actually it's a very complicated process, because you need to have a political will at the executive core to ensure that those interest groups' ideas would be well fit within this framework. And then also you need to hear bureaucrats' opinions, and also to make sure that these bureaucrats will not sabotage this whole process. And I'm a little bit afraid that it happens like, and I talked with some advisors of previous Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė, and basic insight was that usually you see ministers are becoming a tower of bureaucrat ideas and so on. But that's about this kitchen. But I just wanted also because your question was what is happening now, yeah, and what's my basic reflection about sustainable development. I just want to come back to the key insight, what I thought from Stanisky's lecture, that sustainable development is a multi-level process, and you cannot take one thing out of the picture. And let's say if we talk about climate change we would not be, fight against climate change would not be as successful if there is no answer to economic inequality and poverty problems. And I think this is a real issue, how to alleviate poverty, how to reduce economic inequality. So what we see now for this 8-9 months of this already past government, because I know maybe not everyone is familiar with Lithuanian politics, but we had a government which just ended its work because of resignation of Prime Minister. So there was a taxation reform implemented, and to some extent it tackles inequality problems. Progressive income taxation is introduced. Also, the idea of corporate taxation has been raised by 1%. I would wish more, but okay. Also, the idea that income should be taxed no matter from which source it comes has been implemented. So these are quite important things. Pension reform has been also made, and which also limits the profit appetite of private companies, which is also quite good. On the other hand, I think these changes still are rather incremental in terms of what Staniškis was talking. And I also see that there is one trend which goes negative, not to that which we wish for. It's that much more resources are now being allocated to defense sector. Actually, government program says we will strive for 3.5. And after a month, already after adoption of this program, this goal became 5% because of various reasons. But this is a perfect example how government program starts already to be changed in a month, and quite crucially, yeah. And yeah, we see now that many resources will be devoted to defense, to prevention of war, which is of course is important, but of course to some extent it hijacks this whole agenda of sustainable development. Sorry for a long talk, but just wanted, because I had to answer to both questions.
Sure. Just to react to the very last point. Liutauras is from academia. I was also at my time in academia. You have to understand just one thing, that state capacity is transferable. What you dedicate to defense, whenever there is the level of threat is lower, it rarely state capacity is dismantled unless it's an ideological project like Reagan or Thatcher. So there is this historical scientific literature which shows that these defense spending later transfers to other things. Also, defense spending will be used like for economic development, like new factories, etc. So there is this. It's not purely weapons, to be honest. So yeah.
Right. I think that this is really important that Ieva step into this conversation, because we have touched questions such as very real threats to state security and geopolitical risks, which drive sort of how the state budget is structured and so the way the goals are set. Also questions of economic reforms that were implemented that might have impact and bearing on sustainable development goals overall. And then there is the environment. How do we hold these in tension, and how do we keep environmental protection, how do we keep sustainable development in the broadest sense in the center of it? Is it possible?
To be honest, I do not see that this government would say that environment is a priority. I can share one concrete example of situation where defense needs and environmental needs and human rights needs were in intention. Yeah, so I'm speaking about situation in Vilnius district where the huge industrial building was built in order to produce medienos plaušas, wood fibers, yes. And this investment was from Germany, but they built that industrial factory in the area where it is not allowed any industrial activity which uses dangerous chemicals. And that industrial fabric needs those chemicals. So what our government, including Prime Minister Paluckas, including Saulius Skvernelis, including Minister of Economics Lukas Savickas did, they told to people and to community which was raising questions about safety, about groundwater safety and people safety, they told that they are enemies of the country because this investment is from Germany and Germany president or prime minister is arriving to inaugurate the Brigada Vokietijos.
Yeah, the German brigade. Yeah.
Brigade. Yeah. So how dare you to organize some protests because it's very important for Germany business. So don't speak about groundwaters because we have our partners to ensure our safety. So. And it was told during the protest I participated in near the Ministry of Economics, and they organized the laws in order to be in line with that situation. And now we have that building legal and starting to operate. So this is just one small example when we say that defense economy is more important than other things and especially resources. So, and we have a lot of different situations. For example, Lukas Savickas, Minister of Environment, Economics. Yeah, let's hope so. He introduced the green hall for investments, telling that green hall will speed the procedures, bureaucratic procedures, because it will limit the assessment for environment. All those procedures will go faster. That means without attention to quality of that. So then I see such examples. I can't say that previous government saw the environment as priority. And since we do not change this attitude, any other tools we try to implement will be effective. For example, we still do not have pollution tax. We do not have any initiatives that would really lower the waste level. Laurynas talked about plastic recycling, but the problem is that very little part of plastic can be recycled technically, and the main question for me is why we even allow to produce such plastic which will not be recycled in the future. So when we say that some things are our priority, we have to design the system in line with that priority. But I cannot see this at the moment.
Without holding you personally responsible, but as an insider to some of the conversations, would you be willing to respond?
Regarding Kombinatas factory, it was even more complicated. Basically, for the last 8 years, this entire project was pushed through without most permissions, etc. Most probably, some money was exchanged, and it like illegally, of course, basically, the company sunk 200 million euros, and the government had two opportunities. And I'm not blaming you, not blaming you. I'm not telling you that you should find 200 millions, from your pocket to compensate for that. Yeah, it was a dilemma, and yes, military presence in Lithuania was mentioned, and yeah, German embassy pushed that this entire thing, but. To answer one thing, maybe I'm not really sure if it's in sustainable development goals, but I have this very strong feeling that we as society, like in sort of West or whatever, we should keep as much pollution within our borders, because there is another hypocrisy within sort of green movements, etc., where we have like clean, ecological, vegan, etc., like things, but then we export the pollution to third countries. It often happens, and there is this level of hypocrisy. But for the last thing about recycling plastic, the question was, so should we allow thermal plants just burn whatever is not economical to recycle? And yeah, there is this big backlash because it very rarely is about ecology or just pure ecology. It's usually some economic interest groups which are attached to certain, like within this circular economy, certain parts which are, for example, interested in having this sort of free material to burn without paying certain pollution taxes or whatever. And this is multi-dimensional conflict of various high, because it prints money. At least some of these industries in recycling, just pure money printer without very little oversight, and regular people just pay for their trash being dealt with.
I'm going to allow Ieva to respond, and then I would like to shift the conversation towards economic reform.
I would like only just to add that it has nothing with pollution transferring to other countries. No, it was a situation about asking society to sacrifice safety of natural resources instead of some not transparent background of that project. So what society needs to be known about what people made wrong decisions, that at the beginning of that idea of project, it was illegal. So we didn't hear any transparency. Maybe as member of parliament you know more details, but as simple people we don't. But we need that transparency to hear why such huge compromises are done and why we are blamed that we are enemies of the country and we are crazy thinking that our groundwaters will be polluted because of that industrial activity. But I would like to share one more example about the hypocrisy of system. For example, I had a situation about eco-certification. My friend owns not very big, but construction company, and he wanted to participate in public procurements, and he needed a certificate called ISO 14001 and so on. So he Googled who can give a certificate. He found one company. They asked for money. They asked to fill in some questionnaire, and they give him that certificate. They didn't arrive to the company, they didn't met people working there, they didn't check anything about waste and so on. And I was wondering who is allowing for such companies to operate, to give those certificates for everyone who is able to pay for them. And I was consulted by certification administration, some kind of, there is such institution. They told me to go to Minister of Environment. I went there and they told me that yes, nobody controls those companies who give certificates, because if we do that, nobody will receive those certificates and we will not be able to implement the requirement to achieve 100 green public procurements. So let's be optimistic and quiet and calm, because if we raise those questions, we will see that the whole system is collapsing. So we, on one hand, we speak about requirements, about standards, about changing laws, but on the other hand, we are just closing our eyes how in reality those rules are implemented. So this is hypocrisy of and greenwashing.
Yes, prime example of greenwashing. So if we talk about genuine change, right? If we say, okay, we got a snapshot of very real problems on the ground, of very noble goals, sustainable development goals that aim at genuine change, and we have a very fraught reality on the ground. What kind of systemic change can we ask for, starting with local communities? What kind of change can we hope for or can we imagine? And Liutauras, I think I want to start with you and kind of move this direction. So if we think at local community level, if we think about how we can envision change that is beyond hypocrisy, beyond greenwashing, what needs to happen?
Yeah, I think it says there's this 1 million worth question or something like that. I think basically, I think we should discuss more on this, maybe to have another Kombinatas just for this question. And just maybe to just again stemming from the lecture by Professor Staniškis, and I think at the end of this Q&A session there was a question about, okay, so should we kill corporations and the CEOs, and maybe then there should be a state's role, etc. The professor said, yes, there should be a market economy, but it should be better regulated. Frankly speaking, I think this answer is not satisfactory. I think we already have a regulated market economy. There is no such thing in reality as free market. All markets are regulated, and only by this, these markets exist like this. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are problems with these regulations, but as Ieva showed by this last example, these regulations are very difficult to be enforced, and there is, I think, increasing social distrust about rule of law and implementation of these things, and then it's very difficult to think about transition or transformation by playing such rules of game. But if we want to have a vision and to think a goal, we have to transition ourselves. I want to introduce a quite interesting idea, and I think you already heard in one another occasion. There was another report of sustainable development, actually Staniškis mentioned this Club of Rhone, and it was 1972, this report of limit to growth. And after 50 years, so it's a few years ago, another group of scholars gathered and thought, so what has been happening since 1972 and what we can propose. And they developed maybe seven action groups, etc. But one idea I think was very important is just to somehow to get away from this false dilemma, state versus market, and try to create a new system which is based on the idea of commons. And actually, the very I'm not going to deliver a lecture, but it's on Elinor Ostrom, Nobel Prize winner, who was researching how successful communities at local level can organize themselves. And this idea of the commons is just idea to upscale to country level and to global level. The basic idea is like this, we have a lot of common resources. It's air, it's water, it's minerals, it's ideas, it's culture, etc. And some guys, some companies are profiting from these resources. There should be a certain fee because they get profits from these resources, and then these fees are gathered in citizens' funds, and these citizens' funds are distributed via universal basic dividends. And certain experiments have been implemented in Alaska, in Norway. Actually, Norwegian, this citizen fund which rests on this extraction of oil and gas, also is kind of example. It has also not positive aspects, but in general, the idea is just to thought how we manage the common resources that belong to us, but somehow many of them are privatized. So that would be idea. I'm not sure that by tools of representative democracy we will be able to do this. And actually, Staniškis was also answering to a certain question about the war, about revolution. He said maybe post-war revolution is possible. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there will be a better way how to move to this. But sometimes, indeed, systemic transformational change is happening after certain disruptions. But even if so, we need to have a certain vision what to do after that, after this day X. And my thought is that, we should create some economy not based on state or market, but on the commons.
Thank you. Ieva.
I would agree that, first of all, we have to change the attitude we use those resources. So from ownership to sharing is the key in any aspect. I also usually share my own example. I live in 3 levels apartment building, which is owned by one owner, and he rents all 10 or 14 apartments. And then I arrived to live there. I found at the first floor the vacuum cleaner in the first floor, and every apartment, when owners need to clean apartment, goes there, takes it, clean everything, and put it back. So for me it was very useful because I didn't need it to pay for new vacuum cleaner because I didn't have one. Of course it was very beneficial for the owner of building because he decided to buy not 10 cleaners for each apartment but only one. And in general nature won in this situation because we asked for resources for only one device, not for 10 of them. So such kind of solutions when we share and when we implement service, not ownership of items, I believe should be spread in every field. Secondly, we need transformations in taxation system. Then we say that pollution costs and then using of resources costs. So this model of sharing would be more economically viable and more realistic to implement. And in parallel of all those changes, we need awareness raising. How it sounds like cliche, but if we want all those tools be realistic and be trusted and to stand for a long time, we need people to understand why they are so not different. So my recipe would be like that.
Yeah, thank you. So we keep circling back to the idea of the commons. Laurynas.
Okay, the idea of a universal basic dividend, it's very good that it's dividend, not income, because there are some problems of creating rent, etc. Very nice ideas work with extraction-based economies. So, yeah, but I have to be honest. We have to be very mindful when we think about these models about. I'm a big fan of world systems theory, Manuel Wallerstein, and one of his sort of ideas about what the future could be, not in a very nice way, was the idea about democratic fascism. That is where you keep very high borders, where you exploit the rest of the world, and then you can create this surplus from the outside to be used as, to spread the wealth around within the community. So we have to be very mindful when we think about these projects, about how to expand the commons, about where do we draw the border? What about the people outside of the country? What about people in other continents? Center, periphery. So there is this like old. Sort of thesis by historians about sort of imperial center of bringing in this surplus from colonies to prop up their welfare states in UK and whatever until the fall of the imperial system. So whenever we have wishes, sometimes we should be careful what we wish for. But the idea about expanding the commons, actually I like in a very particular way, because I sort of I'm not a big fan of copyright laws, and I believe that we should maybe take a look at how we can open up knowledge and maybe to create this possibility for both people and companies use knowledge more freely. Maybe shorter the time when there is these monopolies. It would boost creativity, and we can expand that. My very similar idea, I believe. Poland, of all places, have almost managed to do that each book published in Lithuania would be available with a simple click online. That's doable. Like literally open up knowledge, and it's easier to do that with non-material wealth. To be honest, it's quite difficult to, I don't know, share a house. Lots of rules, but to share something which can be reproduced indefinitely. It's a very yeah. I believe there are many subtopics where we can expand on what other commons could be expanded. Maybe not necessarily for material, maybe for increased use. Yeah.
Thank you. Looking at the clock, my commitment to the participants that we are going to end, no matter what, at past, which means that we are now moving to the Q&A. The way that we are going to work with Q&A is because I hold the mic, I dictate the rules. Is this: I'm going to collect 2 or 3 questions. And then I'm going to, if you want a specific person to answer the question, when you raise your hand and pose the question, say, this question is for which of the 3? Liutauras, Ieva, or Laurynas, right? If you do not do this, I will let any one of the people answer the question. Once we have 2 or 3 questions, we're going to answer them sort of in a lot. If you have more of a comment than a question before asking, consider whether it helps us advance the conversation further. I know everybody's tired. There may not be a lot of questions. If we have more questions than we can answer, please continue as you are packing up. The Q&A kind of continues beyond this session, is what I'm saying, right? Like, take the Q&A with you as you go. All right, questions.
Thank you. So questions for anyone. I also think there should be legal changes, like some fundamental legislative changes if we're going to move towards the commons. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. So just to clarify, I'm from Serbia, and Laurynas mentioned this democratic fascism. I think Germany is democratic fascism. If there's anyone from Germany, I'm not sorry. It's true. Ieva's story reminded me, in Serbia there is lithium mining, and Germany is pushing insanely for it. They're doing everything because they have lithium, but they don't want to dig there because the green movement is too strong. So they try to do it there. So and they're successful. But I thought if a mountain, a mine, these minerals could be said, no, the people who live around, it's a commons. And you need, in former Yugoslavia, we had commons for companies. They had state property, private property, and common property. So people owned shares of stuff. It wasn't resources, it was companies. But so just your comments on do you see anything that could be changed in the law when it comes to property possession, and could that somehow mitigate exploitative practices, just evil capitalism in short?
Right. Anybody, yes, tagging on to the questions about evil capitalism.
Another kind of big question. Maybe I would be interested in Ieva and Laurynas, Liutauras, answering this, or like just sharing some thoughts. It's because it's a broad question, but I'm really fascinated by the idea of commons. But and it sounds also like a different approach, or a way to decommodify things that we all need to survive, and that we kind of. But I wonder how this is related, or whether it is related with degrowth ideas, because we already touched upon it a bit, in the last discussion. So just getting back, and I would like to hear your brief takes on it. Thanks.
Thank you. And we will take another one if there is one. What?
A genuine question. Where do you see the limits of what you can achieve by national action, national level policy making?
Right, 3 very easy questions. I'm pretty sure that about 30 seconds each should do.
Okay, the limits of national very, very tight. You have like global capital on one hand. You have European Union as a sort of how to say. Highly restricts the way what you can do with trade or whatever. So lots of limits on that. Now, for any legal changes, actually, to be honest, in Lithuania we used to have a cooperative law, but it only works in agriculture, and it's very bad because, like, literally, it's almost impossible to establish a cooperative which is not in agriculture. Like, the only one is co-ops. You should know, like, if you ever been to small towns, it's like the most popular, not like most prominent shop in Lithuania, small shops. But this is the only thing. There is only co-ops and agricultural cooperatives. So that could be done. Collective ownership of something without, shares or whatever is always legally problematic because you're not dealing with, when you're dealing with law, you're not dealing with people with goodwill, you're dealing with potential conflicts of what will happen if they will fight and they will say, no, I want this or that. So could be done, and maybe we should look a bit more creatively. You can do like various schemes, like you can implement crypto cooperatives, like literally using like whatever ledgers in, like various things can be done. But first of all, maybe let's revisit the cooperative law.
Mine.
I don't know exact answer to your question, but as our constitution says, all natural resources are state-owned, so maybe we only need to specify how state takes that value of our all natural resources. So, but I don't know the answer. Talking about sharing economy and donut economy and the commons. So I believe it's the same parts of the same thing, yeah. And Staniškis also said that if we implement that attitude that you sell only the service, not the product itself, you are interested to produce the longer lasting product because it's your tool to do your business, to do your service. So in such a way, we are producing more quality, not more quantity. So in different areas, it is easy to implement in transport sector, in household sector, in fashion even sector, and we see a lot of examples right now. But what to do with living houses sector and so on? It's a task to organize the processes. But I believe if we say that it's our priority, it's our goal, it's possible to invent some models to make it work. And answering to the question, what are the limitations to implement all the ideas? So the main limitation is the support, because if like-minded people will not support those politicians who propose similar ideas to theirs, those politicians will never have opportunity even to propose such solutions. So this would be my call to everyone here to be more, to show more solidarity, even if you see some minuses of that person or political party, but if you see that the general line is clear to you and you support it, you have to show that support very clearly by participating in that activity, by going to elections, by saying, not being afraid to say that support loudly, because without that, it's very easy for opponents to make you down as politician and make your ideas down if no support is from the grassroots are shown.
Yeah, I will try not to repeat already insights by Laurynas and Ieva, but concerning degrowth, I really liked what Staniškis said, that maybe we shouldn't use the word growth, or in other words, also not to emphasize GDP as this target of progress. Human capacities, I think, are much more important, and development as such is a positive goal. I think we should. Degrowth is somehow negative, and I think another day was a good thought that degrowth is a very poor political slogan as such. If you want to mobilize people, you should somehow stress certain positive goals or vision. So human capacities, sustainable development, and there are various other terms that have been already developed. Concerning nation state, of course, and also legal changes. So there are legal templates that you can do, and actually there are certain examples that already the commons have been expanded. I already mentioned Alaska. There's Alaska Citizen Fund. There are some others. There are theoretical arguments or practitioners that wrote certain manifestos about what legal changes should be done, and etc. In order to expand these commons, there is only mostly political will is needed to be implemented, and I think these changes could happen starting from the level of state. Yes, but at the end of the day, of course, Earth is for all. Yeah, so the very fact that Earth is divided by borders already goes against this idea of commons as such, because I think commons should belong to all persons in this world. So we really need to think about international system. Currently, it's based on United Nations. It's better than before Second World War, but it's very imperfect system, and it has to be somehow changed in order to promote equality and progress. And finalizing about this, and also to comment what Laurynas mentioned about that we should create a system, but including everyone, all countries. This transformation will not happen if there is not cancellation of debts. That global South is heavily indebted to the West countries. Again, very strong political will is needed, and I think without international action, without international agreements, would be very difficult to succeed, because it's not only West, but actually now it's China also holds a lot of stakes in Africa and other countries, and their agreement is also needed, and it's very, very difficult because systems are very different.
And I think this is a great way to put a semicolon to the discussion. I would like to ask for your round of applause for our discussion participants. And perhaps because this is one of the last things that we do together, I think this is where applause for the conference organizers is also due.